Imagine standing at the edge of a precipice, the winds of uncertainty whipping around you. In front of you is the vast expanse of love, deep connection, and lasting partnership. But behind you are the shadows of fear, past heartbreaks, unresolved doubts, and ingrained habits. The question is, do you take the leap, or do you stay frozen in place, yearning for something more but unable to move? This is the paradox of love for many of us. We crave connection, yet we're terrified of the very commitment that holds it all together. It's a cycle that leaves us stuck in a space of longing, confusion, and missed opportunities. In Getting to Commitment, Overcoming the 8 Greatest Obstacles to Lasting Connection, and Finding the Courage to Love, Stephen Carter and Julia Sokol offer not just a map to navigate this emotional labyrinth, but the tools to finally overcome the walls that stand between us and the love we desire. But before we dive into the solutions, let's first explore what happens when we let these obstacles control our lives. Picture a relationship on the verge of blossoming, yet the moment things start to feel serious, you pull away. Your partner, sensing the shift, pulls back too. What started with hope turns into confusion, disappointment, and emotional distance.
Why?
What is it about commitment that seems so daunting, even when everything about the relationship feels right? It's because, for many, commitment is more than a word. It's a loaded concept filled with fears and doubts that we often don't even realize are sabotaging us. The fear of being hurt, the fear of losing freedom, the fear of repeating past mistakes, they all swirl together, making commitment seem like a daunting, unattainable goal. Carter and Sokol's book dives deep into these very fears, unearthing the 8 critical obstacles that prevent us from fully embracing commitment. These obstacles don't just appear overnight. They are shaped by our past experiences, childhood conditioning, and societal expectations. But understanding them is the first step to breaking free from their grip. By acknowledging what holds us back, we gain the power to choose a different path, one that leads to deeper, more fulfilling relationships. One of the most striking aspects of this book is its focus on personal growth as the foundation for lasting love. We often believe that love is something that happens to us, something we must wait for or find. But Carter and Sokol argue that love is a dynamic process, a journey that requires us to evolve, grow, and confront our own fears and limitations. They challenge us to ask ourselves, what does it take to become the kind of person who can create and sustain a committed relationship? From the moment you start reading, you'll be invited to reflect on your own relationship patterns, to examine the beliefs and behaviors that keep you stuck, and to take a hard look at the walls you've built around your heart. These walls may have been necessary at one time, but they're no longer serving you. What if, instead of protecting yourself from potential pain, you learn to trust again, to be vulnerable, to step into a love that is deep, authentic, and fulfilling? But this isn't just theoretical. Carter and Sokol offer practical strategies, real-life examples, and actionable steps to help you navigate the journey from fear to courage, from uncertainty to commitment. Each obstacle is examined in detail, with insights and exercises designed to help you challenge and overcome it. Whether it's the fear of intimacy, the need for control, or the fear of losing yourself in a relationship, this book provides the roadmap you need to overcome these barriers and create a connection that lasts. As we move through the pages, we'll discover how to transform our fear of commitment into the courage to love fully. We'll explore the difference between love that is healthy and love that is based on neediness or insecurity. And most importantly, we'll learn that commitment is not just about staying in a relationship. It's about choosing to stay, to invest, to grow, and to face challenges together with a sense of purpose and shared vision. Commitment doesn't mean the end of your independence or the loss of your identity. In fact, it's the very opposite. Commitment is about growing together, supporting one another's dreams, and building a partnership where both individuals can thrive. This book will show you how to create a space where love is not just a feeling, but a conscious decision made every day. It's time to ask yourself, are you ready to take that leap? Are you willing to confront the fears and doubts that have been holding you back? Are you prepared to build the kind of connection that not only survives but flourishes? Getting to commitment offers the courage to embrace vulnerability, the wisdom to understand yourself and your partner, and the tools to turn fear into strength. This isn't just a book about relationships. It's a guide to living a life filled with love, trust, and lasting connection. Part 1. The Fear and Struggle of Commitment. Introduction. A universal search for lasting love. Let's begin by asking a question. How many of us dream about finding a love that lasts forever? A love that doesn't just burn bright in the beginning but continues to glow warmly through the years? Yet, how many of us find ourselves stuck in patterns of fear, hesitation, or heartbreak when it comes to commitment? In Getting to Commitment, Stephen Carter and Julia Sokol take us on a transformative journey. They help us identify and overcome the 8 greatest obstacles that often keep us from achieving the lasting connection we so deeply desire. They shed light on the fears, doubts, and self-sabotaging behaviors that can stand in the way of finding real love and, more importantly, holding on to it. In this first part of the audiobook, we will explore the roots of commitment fears, the psychological barriers that prevent us from connecting deeply, and the patterns of behavior that need to be addressed. We'll also reflect on how past relationships, unresolved wounds, and societal expectations play a role in shaping how we approach or avoid commitment. Chapter 1. The Commitment Paradox. Carter and Sokol start by addressing a paradox. Many people say they want a committed relationship, but when they find themselves on the brink of one, they panic. Why does this happen? The authors explain that commitment often triggers fears of loss, vulnerability, and failure. For some, committing to one person feels like giving up their freedom. For others, it's the fear of choosing wrong and facing heartbreak. A key insight here is that the problem isn't always external, like choosing the wrong partner, but internal. Our own unresolved fears and insecurities can sabotage even the most promising relationships. Example. Consider this story from the book. Sarah had been dating Mike for 2 years. They were in love, and Mike was ready to propose. But as soon as Sarah sensed that the relationship was moving toward marriage, she began finding faults in Mike. He wasn't ambitious enough. He left his socks on the floor. She started nitpicking, withdrawing, and ultimately broke things off. Months later, Sarah realized it wasn't Mike's shortcomings that had caused her to leave. It was her own fear of commitment. The first step to overcoming this paradox, the authors suggest, is recognizing the fear for what it is. By acknowledging it, we begin to reclaim power over it. Chapter 2. The Ghosts of Relationships Past. One of the most profound obstacles to commitment is the emotional baggage we carry from past relationships. Unhealed wounds, unresolved conflicts, and lingering doubts can weigh us down, making it difficult to trust again. The authors explore how heartbreak from previous relationships can create a fear of trying. We convince ourselves that if love failed once, or multiple times, it will inevitably fail again. This pessimistic outlook often leads to self-protective behaviors, like emotional withdrawal or pushing people away. Reflection exercise. The book offers a powerful exercise. Reflect on your past relationships and write down any unresolved emotions or fears they left behind. Ask yourself, what lessons have I learned from these experiences? What fears am I still holding on to? Story. Carter and Sokol share the story of Ben, who had been deeply in love with his college sweetheart, Emma. When Emma broke things off suddenly, Ben was devastated. Years later, whenever a new partner showed signs of pulling away, Ben would immediately end the relationship to avoid feeling the same pain again. His fear of reliving heartbreak kept him from ever truly opening up. To move forward, Ben had to confront the ghost of his relationship with Emma. He had to accept that while love carries risks, it also offers the possibility of deep joy and fulfillment. Chapter 3. The Culture of Disconnection. Modern culture often glamorizes independence and individualism, which can make commitment seem less desirable. Carter and Sokol argue that we live in a world that promotes fleeting connections and disposable relationships. Dating apps, social media, and hookup culture all contribute to a sense that relationships are replaceable. The authors challenge this notion by emphasizing the value of deep, lasting connections. They argue that while independence is important, true fulfillment comes from interdependence, where two people support and strengthen each other while maintaining their individuality. Key takeaway: commitment isn't about losing yourself in a relationship. It's about finding someone who helps you become the best version of yourself. Practical tip: evaluate your current mindset. Do you see relationships as disposable or worth fighting for? If you've fallen into the trap of disconnection, consider how you can shift your perspective to value deeper, more meaningful connections. Chapter 4: Fear of Vulnerability. At the heart of commitment fears lies a fear of vulnerability. Opening up to another person means exposing your flaws, insecurities, and wounds. What if they reject you? What if they betray your trust? Carter and Sokol explain that vulnerability is both the scariest and most essential ingredient in a lasting relationship. Without it, we build walls that keep love out. Example: Lisa had always been fiercely independent. She believed that showing vulnerability was a sign of weakness. But this mindset made her relationships feel cold and distant. Her partners often complained that they couldn't reach her emotionally. The turning point came when Lisa started practicing small acts of vulnerability. She began sharing her fears, dreams, and insecurities with her partner. To her surprise, this deepened their connection rather than weakening it. Action step: start small. Share something personal with a trusted partner or friend. Notice how it feels to be vulnerable and how it impacts your connection. Chapter 5: The Pursuit of Perfection. One of the most common obstacles to commitment is the belief that you need to find the perfect partner. Carter and Sokol call this the perfection trap. They explain that while it's important to have standards, expecting perfection is a recipe for disappointment. No one is flawless, and real love involves embracing someone's imperfections as part of who they are. Story: consider Tom, who ended 3 relationships because he believed his partners weren't perfect matches. One wasn't adventurous enough. Another didn't share his taste in music. Over time, Tom realized that his pursuit of perfection was really a way to avoid commitment. By focusing on superficial flaws, he avoided facing his own fears about intimacy. Practical tip: make a list of the qualities that truly matter to you in a partner. Then, cross off anything superficial or unrealistic. This exercise can help you focus on what's truly important in a relationship. Part 2: Building the Courage to Love. Introduction: The courage to stay the course. In Part 1, we explored the fears and barriers that prevent many of us from committing to love. Whether it's the wounds of past relationships, the fear of vulnerability, or the perfection trap, these challenges can feel insurmountable. But here's the good news: commitment isn't about being fearless. It's about finding the courage to love despite your fears. In this second part, we'll focus on actionable steps to overcome these obstacles. We'll explore how to build trust, communicate effectively, and nurture a relationship that can withstand the inevitable ups and downs of life. Let's begin by tackling one of the biggest hurdles to lasting love: trust. Chapter 6: Learning to Trust Again. Trust is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship, yet it's one of the most fragile aspects. Once broken, trust can take years to rebuild. But Carter and Sokol argue that trust isn't just about the other person. It's also about trusting yourself to make wise decisions in love. The 2 dimensions of trust. 1. Trusting others. This means believing that your partner has good intentions and will act with integrity. 2. Trust yourself. This involves confidence in your ability to choose a partner wisely and navigate challenges in the relationship. Practical tip: build trust gradually. Trust isn't built overnight. Start by being consistent in small ways. Show up when you say you will. Be honest even when it's uncomfortable, and communicate openly about your feelings and needs. Story: Carter and Sokol share the story of Emily and Jack. After Jack lied about a small financial matter early in their relationship, Emily struggled to trust him completely. Jack recognized his mistake and worked hard to regain Emily's trust by being transparent and accountable. Over time, Emily realized that trust could be rebuilt, but it required effort from both sides. Chapter 7: The Role of Communication in Commitment. One of the most common reasons relationships falter is a breakdown in communication. Carter and Sokol emphasize that effective communication is about more than just talking. It's about listening, understanding, and responding with empathy. The 3 levels of communication. 1. Superficial communication. Everyday exchanges like, "How was your day?" These are important, but don't build deep intimacy. 2. Personal communication. Sharing your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. 3. Intimate communication. Expressing your deepest fears, dreams, and vulnerabilities. Practical tip: practice active listening. When your partner speaks, focus on truly understanding their perspective instead of planning your response. Reflect back what you hear to show you're listening. Example: Sarah and Ben often argued about chores, but the real issue was that Sarah felt unappreciated. When Ben started actively listening instead of becoming defensive, he realized how much Sarah valued his support. This shift in communication deepened their connection. Chapter 8: Overcoming the Fear of Change. Commitment often requires us to grow and evolve, which can be uncomfortable. Carter and Sokol remind us that love isn't static. It changes over time, and so must we. Key insight: fearing change is natural, but resisting it can prevent growth. True commitment means embracing change as an opportunity to deepen your bond. Action step: embrace growth together. Regularly discuss your goals and dreams with your partner. This helps ensure you're growing in the same direction. Story: Mark and Lisa had been married for 5 years when Lisa decided to go back to school. Mark initially felt threatened by this change, fearing it would disrupt their relationship. But when they started discussing their fears and supporting each other's growth, their relationship became stronger than ever. Chapter 9: The Importance of Emotional Availability. Carter and Sokol highlight the importance of emotional availability in building lasting love. Being emotionally available means being present, empathetic, and willing to connect on a deeper level. Signs of emotional availability: you're willing to share your feelings and listen to your partners. You're able to handle conflicts without shutting down or withdrawing. You prioritize the relationship even when it's challenging. Practical tip: cultivate presence. Make a habit of setting aside distractions like phones or work to fully engage with your partner. Example: Mia often felt disconnected from her boyfriend, Tom, who was always busy with work. When Tom started dedicating 30 minutes each evening to fully focus on Mia, their relationship improved dramatically. Chapter 10: Managing Conflict Constructively. Every relationship has conflict, but it's how you handle it that determines whether it strengthens or weakens your bond. The 3 styles of conflict management. 1. Avoidance, ignoring the issue, which often leads to resentment. 2. Aggression, blaming or attacking, which creates distance. 3. Constructive resolution, addressing the issue calmly and collaboratively. Practical tip: use I statements. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "I feel unheard when we don't talk about important things." Story: Carter and Sokol recount a couple who constantly fought about finances. When they learned to focus on the problem, budgeting, rather than attacking each other, they were able to resolve the issue and grow closer. Chapter 11: Letting Go of the Fear of Loss. One of the most profound fears tied to commitment is the fear of losing the relationship. Ironically, this fear can lead to behaviors like jealousy or overattachment that push the other person away. Key insight: love is about giving, not clinging. True commitment means loving your partner freely without trying to control or possess them. Practical tip: focus on the present. Instead of worrying about what might go wrong, focus on enjoying the relationship as it is now. Example: Sophie used to constantly worry that her boyfriend, James, would leave her. This fear caused her to be overly controlling. When she started focusing on building a happy and fulfilling present, her relationship flourished. Chapter 12: Choosing Love Every Day. Carter and Sokol conclude the book with a powerful reminder: commitment isn't a one-time decision. It's a choice you make every day. Key takeaway: lasting love isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small, daily acts of kindness, patience, and support that keep the relationship strong. Action step: create rituals of connection. Whether it's a morning coffee together or a weekly date night, find ways to prioritize your relationship regularly. Final story: the authors share the story of a couple married for 40 years. When asked about the secret to their lasting love, they said, "We never stopped choosing each other." As the final words of Getting to Commitment echo in your mind, it's clear that the journey toward lasting love and connection is far more complex than we often acknowledge. Stephen Carter and Julia S. Henderson have masterfully illuminated the hidden obstacles that can stand in the way of true commitment, those deeply ingrained fears and insecurities that sabotage our relationships before they even have a chance to flourish. The book's transformative message is not just about identifying these obstacles, but about confronting them with courage, vulnerability, and self-awareness. Carter and Henderson lay bare the emotional barriers, whether it's fear of rejection, past heartbreak, or the fear of being vulnerable, that we carry with us, often without even realizing their impact. These barriers, they argue, are the very things that prevent us from embracing the true depth of connection we so desperately crave. One of the book's most empowering takeaways is the recognition that these obstacles are not insurmountable. With each chapter, Carter and Henderson gently guide us toward the realization that lasting commitment is not an unattainable ideal but a choice to confront our fears, challenge our assumptions, and act with the courage to truly love. They teach us that commitment is not about finding the perfect partner, but about becoming the right partner, one who is ready to be open, vulnerable, and deeply connected to someone else, without the emotional armor we've spent years building around ourselves. For many listeners, getting to commitment may feel like a revelation, unlocking the door to deeper self-understanding and offering tools to dismantle long-held beliefs that have kept us stuck in unhealthy patterns. Each obstacle is dissected with care, providing practical advice on how to overcome it, whether that's learning to release past pain, conquering the fear of emotional intimacy, or recognizing the subtle ways in which we sabotage our own happiness. The book is a call to action, urging us to take responsibility for our emotional lives and giving us the tools to build relationships that are not only lasting but deeply fulfilling. One of the most profound lessons that Carter and Henderson impart is the idea that commitment is not something that just happens, it is something we actively create. It is a conscious decision to show up, to work through the tough times, and to never give up on the possibility of love, even when we are afraid or uncertain. They remind us that love, in its most authentic form, requires us to be brave, to risk disappointment, and to open ourselves up to the possibility of heartbreak, all while trusting that the reward of real, lasting connection is worth the vulnerability. Listening to this book, you might find yourself reflecting on your own relationship patterns and asking the tough questions. What obstacles have I let stand in my way? What fears have I allowed to dictate my ability to love and commit? The beauty of getting to commitment is that it doesn't just leave you with these questions. It provides actionable insights that empower you to take the next steps. It challenges you to face your fears head-on and offers practical strategies for overcoming them, ensuring that you can build a foundation of trust, understanding, and love in any relationship. Carter and Henderson don't shy away from the complexities of love, acknowledging that commitment is not a one-size-fits-all formula. Each relationship is unique, each person's journey different. Yet, what unites us all is the deep human desire to connect, to find someone who truly understands us, and to give and receive love freely, without reservation. The book's real power lies in its ability to strip away the noise, to reveal the core truths about what it takes to build a lasting connection. As you finish this audiobook, the message is clear. Lasting love is not about perfection. It's about embracing each other's flaws, learning to communicate with honesty and compassion, and making a conscious decision every day to stay committed to the journey of love. Carter and Henderson show us that, in order to truly commit to someone else, we must first commit to ourselves, their wisdom gently nudging us towards self-love and acceptance as the foundation for any relationship. The challenges outlined in the book, fear of vulnerability, unresolved past pain, insecurity, are obstacles that we all face at some point, yet Carter and Henderson offer a path forward. They give us the courage to face these challenges with openness, determination, and the understanding that love is not always easy, but is always worth the effort. The choice to commit, to build something lasting and meaningful, is not an easy one, but it is one that is within our reach. As you reflect on the journey you've just taken with getting to commitment, remember this: lasting connection is not a destination, but a continuous process. It requires consistent effort, reflection, and the willingness to confront our own shortcomings and fears. It is not always about finding the perfect partner, but about making the commitment to grow and evolve together. This audiobook leaves you with an invitation to embrace the messy, beautiful, and courageous process of commitment. To let go of the emotional baggage that holds you back and to step forward with the clarity, self-awareness, and strength to love deeply and wholeheartedly. And as you do, you'll find that the love you seek is not somewhere out there, but within you, waiting to be nurtured, cherished, and shared with the one who will stand beside you in your journey of lasting connection. Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new video updates. Happy learning!